round 8 of the GVR Tuscan Challenge sees Bobby Verdenroe, already several times a race winner in 1997, starting from pole position. Alongside him, mean, black and very keen indeed, Steve Guglielmi in car number 6. Jamie Campbell-Walters, one of the new stars of the circuit, is in 3rd place, but another rival, Grant Tromans, will not start this race, pulling off with problems after the warm-up lap. No gears then, so Grant Tromans back into the paddock. Hopefully he'll take race 2's start, but from the pole position, Bobby Verdenroe heads them away, and they fan out 3 abreast. The lime green car of Martin Short coming around the outside from his 4th place starting position and looking to make it up into the lead if he can. But it's a battle on the brakes between Bobby Verdenroe and Steve Guglielmi, who takes the lead. The field streaming through here in this ever-popular TVR Tuscan series. Matt Doman starting on the outside of row 10 of the grid. Shows us what it looks like in the midfield on this first lap of Castle Combe. Well, the action is always fast and furious. One of the Barclays Finance cars off in the grass already, bouncing around and hopefully rejoining. As we ride with James Stevenson, the number 9 machine comes back on. It's Gavin Cooper who's been grass cutting all the way down the straight. Through Tower they go, heading down towards the end of the first lap. And Steve Guglielmi leads it from Bobby Verdenroe with Martin Short in 3rd place. 75, Phil Hindley picks up a place there from Troy Dunlop with a through Camp Corner. And right behind them is 55, Mark Preston in the yellow car, hounding around. So the Leeds trio battling for 1st place. And it's all very tight indeed through the top 6. There's the number 1 marking out the reigning champion Ian Flux. A disastrous time in qualifying saw him starting only 8th, and he's not being able to work very far up the grid from that starting position. Currently in 7th, just ahead of this fraught battle. Phil Hindley having left Troy Dunlop behind now, and a handout from Jamie Campbell-Walter. Jamie Campbell-Walter pulling off on only the 2nd lap. He was 3rd on the grid, so whatever mechanical problems he has got are clearly terminal. Ian Flux picks up another place, and so too does Bobby Verdenroe. The Arch Championship rivals both pick up a slot. Verdenroe into the lead. Ian Flux moves up into 6th place. Martin Short there running a little wide. Colin Blower having a look down the inside. There is Flux. Looks as though Colin Blower was having a sniff at Martin Short. He still is. Short's 3rd place very much under threat here. Martin Short, a very experienced racer. Colin Blower with even more miles at the wheels of these cars. And a little bit of gamesmanship going on there by Steve Guglielmi, now with the headlamps ablaze, trying to psych out Bobby Verdenroe. I think it'll take a little bit more than that. The experienced ex-single-seater man came into these cars 2 seasons ago and has really taken to them. Riding again with Matt Doman, heading down towards the start-finish line. We've come out of Tower, flat out through the kink, and then braking hard, changing down the gearbox for Camp Corner, hugging it tight. 2 wheels on the grass just ahead, a very neat line indeed. And in the barriers on the outside there, one of the Barclays cars, I don't believe it, Gavin Cooper's gone off again, but this time he's leaving about 1/3 of the length of his car behind. You can see the bodywork damage there. And whether that's damaged the back of the car or not, well, in terms of mechanical reliability, it's still got 4 wheels, even if it does look like a pickup truck. He continues, at least for the moment. Matt Doman now. Oh, Doman, I was just about to say, having a challenge, but he's not. Soaring around the gearbox for gears. Let's have a look now at how it all went wrong. Gavin Cooper battling his teammate Steve Hyde. Away she goes. There's no runoff area there if you're going in backwards. You just get 2 side wheels on the grass, you are right, but fully broadside like that. It looks like a Renault Spider racer now. Ian Flux, oh, makes a challenge for a position and runs all over the grass. Dear, oh dear, not having a good time of it, nor is Troy Dunlop. Saw him having aggravation earlier, and he's spun there as well. So Bobby Verdenroe leads then. Heaven-sent opportunity to try and claw back some of Ian Flux's championship lead. Here's Ian McKellar just ahead of Phil Hindley, and there is Flux in 7th place, and very, very sideways, number 55, Mark Preston. And just behind Flux, Rod Gretton. He's already had to pass him once. Rod hanging on to the tail of the championship leader. Matt Doman coming down pit road and into retirement. Well, there is another race perhaps for him to have a chance in. And this battle continues. They've changed places. It's now Phil Hindley leading from Ian McKellar in 5th and 6th place. But here are the leaders. Bobby Verdenroe out on his own. Steve Guglielmi with Martin Short in close attendance. Oh dear, Phil Hindley goes into a spin. Does he hold it together? Just grazes the tyre wall. That was a narrow escape indeed. Ian Flux trying to pick up 5th place now. Ian McKellar lost momentum there, avoiding that accident. And Flux goes past as they crest the rise, outbreaks him into Quarry. Through comes Phil Hindley, just ahead of Martin Stewart. So Hindley has recovered. Well, they both had a very heart in their mouth moment there, I'm sure. Matt Doman returns to the track. Seems to be still having trouble selecting gears. So through goes Verdenroe. Guglielmi and Short together, 2nd and 3rd. And Short has thoroughly shaken off Colin Blower in 4th place. Able to concentrate now on maybe even picking up 2nd place before the end of this race. So perfect cornering attitude from Bobby Verdenroe. The other two come through, waggling the inside front wheel in the air as well. Oh dear, Matt Doman doesn't even make it back to the pits this time, so no chance for the crew to work on the car again before race 2. At least not during this race. They'll have to wait for the checkered flag. Through go the leaders, passing him. And Matt bails out. He'll need dragging back off to the pits. So valuable time being lost there. What a shame. Ian Flux locks up a brake. Oh dear, he's still fighting, isn't he? Because Ian McKellar won't give up. The bonnet may be flapping away in front of him, but that's not putting him off at all. The all-yellow car, Mark Preston, looking for a way past. Will Preston get by? McKellar says no. And McKellar is right. Preston wagging the tail under power as he thunders out around the back of this Castle Combe circuit. Ian Flux, I'm sure, not happy with the race so far, but Bobby Verdenroe certainly will be, and delighted again to see the checkered flag. Verdenroe wins race 1 at Castle Combe by 2 seconds from Steve Guglielmi, Martin Short, Colin Blower, Ian Flux and Mark Preston winning the last lap sort out for 6th place. Round 8 of the TVR Tuscan Challenge at Castle Combe, the 2nd race of the afternoon. Bobby Verdenroe on pole position from Steve Guglielmi as they started and finished the last race. And Grant Tromans, who didn't even start the first race of the afternoon, does finally get away at the back of the grid. Around the outside, a very fast start from Colin Blower. They go 3 abreast again. James Stevenson, oh, James Stevenson right behind a big blow-up in the first corner. And Stevenson dramatically blinded as oil or water or something was all over the camera lens and therefore all over his windscreen. Well, there is Stevenson with his hand out of the cockpit. And cars off everywhere. The field cut almost literally in half by somebody having a big engine blow-up in the first corner. This is Ian McKellar. He is just on the back of the leading group. And this is almost like the Tour de France. We've got a breakaway group and everyone else. There are the everyone else's, and you can see the filth on the windscreens. Number 3, it's Steve Cole. Steve Cole at the side of the road with a very smoky bonnet. And everybody else having oil removed from their windscreens. Well, here goes the field. Heading up towards the first corner. And big haze in the middle of the pack. Steve Cole spinning on his own oil, and bits of engine or gearbox rolling down the grass on the right-hand side as everybody scatters to avoid the stricken machinery. Riding with Ian McKellar now, chasing Rod Gretton. Oh, it's getting very tight indeed. Oh, how did he find a way down the inside there? That's classic stuff at Camp Corner there. Ian McKellar with the checkered noseband on his yellow car. Rod Gretton, the pink car. Ian Flux right behind them. Well, unbelievably, the race has been allowed to continue, despite oil all over the track and all over some of the cars, and bits of car flying up and hitting some of the other vehicles. from that first corner incident. The race continues, so the leaders power on, and it's up to the rest of the field to try and catch them up. And the way they're battling each other here, that might not be impossible. Ian Flux moves down another slot there as number 75 Phil Hindley goes past him. Grant Tromans circulating at the back of the pack. Oh dear, and just look at the sort of view that he must have. This is our view through the camera above his windscreen surround. Bobby Burden-Rowe in second place. Steve Guglielmi leads this race as he did race one. Burden-Rowe seems to be waving his hand out of the cockpit as they came past the start-finish line, but continues at speed unabated until he sees a red or yellow flag. There's no way he's going to give up, and a mistake by Guglielmi going into Quarry under braking allows Burden-Rowe to come alongside. Flame spitting on the down change, he moves up into the lead. Ian Flux passes our cameraman, Ian McKellar. Ian McKellar returns the compliment. And Steve Guglielmi feeling the pressure now. Colin Blower on a charge. Colin Blower third, Martin Short fourth. There's Flux, there's Flux, there's Flux. This is all very close, exciting camera action. And Flux now seems to have made his move stick. They come down to Cam. Is this going to be a dive up the inside? Not this time. Flux was just far enough ahead. So through comes Burden-Rowe. Second still Guglielmi. And Martin Short pressuring Colin Blower. And Flux is moving up through the pack at a decent rate in this race. Past Troy Dunlop he goes. Ian McKellar lining up the number 4 machine. Trying to get good drive out of the corner, see if he can come alongside. Hand out of the window, Troy Dunlop pointing to the right. McKellar goes to the right. Through he goes. Very sensible driving from Dunlop. And a thank you gesture out of the window by Ian McKellar as well. Flux now really working hard to pick up lost places. Tim Hood is his next victim. He moves alongside. No, he doesn't. Not there. Bobby Burden-Rowe comes through camp. So too does Guglielmi, then Blower, then Short. And this time, Flux is through. Into 5th place he goes as Hood runs wide. Hood down to 6th. So Flux really picking up the places now. Started this race in 5th place and dropped right down at the start. Another lock-up by Guglielmi drops him further away from the tail of Burden-Rowe. Flux in 5th, and the battle ahead of him, Short and Blower, should help him catch up with that scrap there. They go for 3rd place. A little lock-up for Flux. No, a big lock-up for Flux. Flux is off again. Twice off onto the grass in 2 races at Castlecombe. This is not one of Ian Flux's better weekends. There's our cameraman then, McKellar, and 2 spots back. Flux rejoins. Well, he really is having a dreadful time. Getting very sideways there. Alistair McKeever in the number 90. Arm out of the cockpit. No mistaking that signal. I've got a problem, he says. Yes, indeed, he certainly does. No problems, though, for the leader. Through he goes. Oh, dear. Ian Flux's move on number 75, Phil Hindley, is being eagerly anticipated, or keenly anticipated, by Hindley, and Hindley is trying to block every possible avenue of opportunity. Hindley a little off the mark as they come up to Quarry, but holds off Flux. He's gesturing inside the cockpit. Not quite sure what that was intended to suggest. Perhaps that he knows Flux gave him room there rather than risk contact. Certainly the door was ajar, but Ian Flux needs the points more than he needs an impact. Well, impact there at the front. Ian McKellar, his camera there being used to help barge his way through past the 26 machine of Tim Hood. Bobby Burden-Rowe now with a comfortable margin. Steve Guglielmi in 2nd, and still Colin Blower fighting off Martin Short. Then McKellar, then Hood, then Hindley, then Flux. So Flux in 8th and still jinking around, looking to put pressure enough on Hindley to make it 7th. But Flux has now got a solid 3-car train of TVRs ahead. He's really looking aggressive this time, though. Down into Quarry. Does he force Hindley wide enough? No, again he doesn't. Oh, very broadside, massive darkies as Hindley has to get on the power to correct the slide very early. Well, he's still on the power enough to stay ahead of Flux as they go through Old Paddock. heading off down towards Tower, through the long left-hand kink that is Hammer Down. Just 2 more corners to go to sort it all out, but they've elapsed for Bobby Verden-Rowe. The checkered flag waits for the second time at Castle Combe. Double victory for him. Steve Guglielmi second again. Colin Blow a third from Martin Short, Ian McKellar and Phil Hindley. Flux having to settle for 8th this time. And listen to Ian McKellar's engine. He only just made it, which is more than Jamie Campbell-Walter does. Oh dear, this will be a weekend that he'll be glad to forget as soon as possible. Campbell-Walter, 1 retirement, 1 severe stuffing into the bank on the outside of camp, and a limp across the line. Not a good one for young Jamie, but a delighted Bobby Verden-Rowe confirms his double race wins, and a good weekend as well for Steve Guglielmi. 2 seconds, Short and Blower sharing a 3rd and a 4th each.
Another hat as well.
Another hat for Bobby Verden-Rowe, and closing on Ian Flux, the championship leader. Round 10 of the Pirelli Porsche Cup, and this is the man who has been the pace setter all season. The AFN prepared 993, his brand new machine for the 97 season. Well, exciting stuff for the drivers, and it's slightly damp as well as they get away from the start. A slow start from the left-hand side of the picture. On the slightly wetter side of the grid, though, everybody gets away a little bit better. Mark Sumter from 2nd and Johnny Molan from 4th, heading them into the first corner. Riding with Jason Saunders in the midfield, and the 34 machine spinning ahead of him, Dave Bennett. Bennett had a better start, but Saunders at least managed to get round the first lap. Down the Craner curves, Johnny Molan fighting as the front and back try and break away. He's under braking now, inside Mark Sumter. Down the inside as well comes Jason Saunders. We ride with him into the old hairpin. Catches the slide nicely, picks up the place there, a good brave move. Molam leads now from Sumter. 3rd place is Richard Finney, the number 4 car. Richard Jones behind him, and behind him is Chris Healy, the pole position man, riding with Richard Jones. Oh, and he gets hit from behind even before he gets into the braking area, and a big moment for Healy, coming in too quick there. Well, he holds on to the position at the moment. But out front, Johnny Molam under pressure from Mark Sumter. Will Sumter be able to find enough grip down the inside? He does so, has to use the curbs to turn in and avoid Molam, but a good move. Jason Saunders now coming down the straight, finds himself outbraked. Tenderly does it now into Goddard's. Johnny Molam leads it again from Mark Sumter. He slipped ahead on the straight. David Jones goes down the inside of Richard Finney. There's contact, and Finney just holds on. No, he doesn't. It comes back in a massive tank slapper, and Richard Finney scrabbling for control there. Regains control of the car, but he's lost several places in that effort. David Jones in 3rd. Chris Healy in 4th place. There he is, the pole position man. Then Robert Babbickan and David Saunders going through in their 2 911s. Babbickan, last year's champion, the number 1 machine. Saunders in a yellow car. Well, Johnny Molam, this is his customary position at the front of the field, starting to eke out an advantage from Sumter and Jones, with Healy in close pursuit. Then the 911s of Babbickan and Saunders. And battles going on all the way down the field. Chasing hard is Mike Salmon. There he is on the tail of this group, the number 8 machine. He started in 10th place. And David Jones looking down the inside of Mark Sumter. Jones has really got a waggle on at the moment. Here's Richard True, and look at that, slipping down the inside of him is Richard Finney. Oh, and Finney picks up 2 places there at the chicane. He is not hanging around either, in very determined mode. Richard True decides he'll try and have a go at Marcus Fothergill as well. There they are behind these 3 911s, almost line abreast they were there. Dropping in behind goes 16 Adrian Slater, and behind him Mike Salmon. Oh, and True and Fothergill, I think just a little rub between them. Either that or True was on the very wet side of the track, and it all went a bit pear-shaped for him. Well, it's going a little bit pear-shaped for Dave Bennett as well, being passed by Paul Doran, the number 32 machine. Doran started last on the grid with a 10-second penalty after his practice times were disallowed, and he's fighting his way back up. A little bit of red mist there. Oh, and into the pits goes Chris Healy. Well, that's probably a legacy of his earlier contact then on lap 1. Healy into the pits, so Molam leads from Sumpter. And Richard Finney, the red car with the headlights ablaze, you can see him now quite clearly closing in on the back of this group. David Saunders leads them, and he gets very, very sideways. He spins. Adrian Slater goes one way. Mike Salmon goes the other. Oh, and now Slater with mud on the tyres as he tries to rejoin spins as well. Dear, oh dear, well, disaster for the pair of them. Jason Saunders. Down the Craner curves we go. See how little you can actually see from this driver's eye view. Plunging downhill, accelerating hard. Oh, a feather from Saunders. Touch on the brakes from the car ahead of him, Andy Middleton. And Saunders outbrakes him down the inside. Well, Middleton was just not committed enough. Oh, and he spins out on the outside of the old hairpin as well. Loses not just that one place, but a big handful as well. Across the grass goes the 52 machine of Adrian Graves. I don't know how he saved that from the pit wall, but somehow he managed it. Well, it's all go here, isn't it? And Mark Sumpter now in a side-by-side outbraking battle with David Jones. Sumpter on the inside, should be able to hold his position. Let's ride with Jones and see how he comes back at him. Sumpter with a couple of lengths advantage. I don't think Jones will be close enough to try anything into the first corner, into Redgate. Just a touch of cleaner on the windscreen. Sumpter the second place man. Johnny Molam still a significant way ahead. Around the outside, David Saunders tries it. Adrian Slater not having any of that. Oh dear, and stuck in the gravel. Tony Littlejohn being towed out by the tractor. Johnny Molam in the middle of the slower machinery. David Jones coming up to Coppice. Turns in, just rumbling over the curbs. Oh, and a big, big, big spin. Oh, it all just broke away there under acceleration, and he will be lucky to escape that. He does so, though. He clearly went in towards the end of the gravel trap, again with the windscreen washers, and just listen to the trouble he's having finding enough traction to get back onto the circuit. Well, Molam leads them. Mark Sumpter in second place. Here he comes now, headlights ablaze, just to make sure that everybody stays out of his way. And the checkered flag awaits. Here he comes, safely through Goddard's for the final time. Headlights ablaze. Johnny Molam wins again at Donington Park. Second place for Mark Sumpter, after a very strong race from him as well. Top 944 in Class A was Richard Finney in third place. Here is the battle of our camera cars. Jason Saunders looking down the inside of Richard True. Here we are at Coppice. He takes the place in the middle of the corner. Looking forward now from Richard's car. There's Jason just pulling ahead. This is for third and fourth place in Class B. Class B being led by Marcus Fothergill. Paul Fuller behind him. Down Starkey Straight they come for the last time. And Fuller looking around the outside in the black 911, but Fothergill holding his line. The number 43 machine sneaks ahead across the line. Jason Saunders right with them here at the finish, very close indeed in Class B. But Johnny Molam wins comfortably from Sumpter, a comfortable margin himself ahead of Finney, as Molam extends his championship lead after round 10.
In front of his home fans, defy the odds and beat Mercedes. 41 cars on their way.